So it's the year 2013, and China wants its money to be used outside of its own country. The name of the currency that the Chinese use is called the renminbi, or the RMB, and they don't want it stuck in China anymore. They want to see it move through Western banks, Western institutions, and Western financial systems. More reach, more influence, more power. And all this just to have less of a need to run on the American reserve currency. This is where Mark Carney comes in. But before I go on, I need to back up just a little bit, just to show you how Mark Carney fits into all this. The whole thing starts with currency swaps. What's a currency swap? A currency swap is basically two central banks that agree to exchange their currencies one with another so that really big financial firms can continue doing business, even if the money starts drying up in one or the other country. Let me give you an example. Let's say British banks need a very large sum of Chinese currency to basically handle trade, loans, investments, or financial deals tied to China. The Bank of England can access the RMB currency directly from the Chinese central bank. One country is basically saying to the other country, look, if your banks need our currency, we can exchange money and keep your system moving without any panic. Got it? Okay, good. So in 2013, the Bank of England partnered with the People's Bank of China and created a swap line between one another worth 32 billion US dollars at the time. Now, Carney doesn't come in at this point. He came shortly after that. This was signed by the previous governor of the Bank of England. So Mark Carney comes in and looks at this swap and basically says, yeah, this is great. Let's help push this to a global market and make the renminbi even more respectable on the world stage. Carney helped sell China's currency going global as if this was some really normal, great idea. Not a risk, not a warning sign, not, hey, you know what? Maybe helping the Chinese Communist Party build more financial power and influence is probably something we should slow down and, I don't know, think about. No, he called it a global good. I will repeat, he called it a global good. But why did he do this, you might be asking? And what exactly does this mean? Well, it meant giving China's currency way more legitimacy than it previously had. It meant communist-tied Chinese banks could move deeper into the Western banking system. In a nutshell, if China can get more RMB into Western markets and Western banking, Chinese banks could settle more deals in RMB and not have to rely on the American dollar. And if London, Carney, makes this look normal, we begin to normalize Chinese influence at this point through the financing world. So they have less exposure to US pressure, less risk on sanctions, should they come, less need to run every major project that they had through Washington, which was basically a failsafe. That's really why this mattered. And the problem with all this, from my vantage point, is that there's going to be a pattern that emerged. Mark Carney basically dressed up this whole thing as some kind of a responsible global finance thingamajig. And why not? I mean, China is standing here trying to get its money into the rest of the world. And one of the most powerful Western bankers is just standing there telling everybody, this is for the greater good, y'all. And this is even before everything. It's before Brookfield, before the United Nations envoy role that he had for ESG. This was before he even helped the liberal. And that's where this all starts in 2013. But it doesn't stop there. So let's talk about the excuse. There is obviously an official explanation for this. London wanted the business under the chairmanship of Mark Carney, or the governorship. Chinese banks, Chinese money, bond deals, trading, clearing, all of it. Fine. That explains London. But this whole thing is not harmless because China wasn't just thinking of bringing in money here. No, China was bringing state power. The banks, the currency, the capital, the system itself is all tied together to the government of China. And Carney helped, for some odd reason, this entire system looked like it was a perfectly normal thing from a communist regime to enter into the global financial sector as a reserve currency. The guy calls it a global good. China gets access, and everyone is just acting like this is responsible finance. Something is off here. After that, Carney doesn't get smaller. He gets bigger. The FSB, Bank of England, global banking rule, climate finance, on. And you've heard this all before. At every single step, the platform for him just keeps getting bigger. And it's going to circle back to China in a second. Then Carney, after his horrendous stay at the Bank of England, after Brexit, decides to leave as governor of the Bank of England, or his tenure was up, as he would like to say. And where does he go? Brookfield. Because of course Brookfield. He joins as vice chair, head of ESG, transition and investing. and later on, chair of asset management at Brookfield. You all know, Brookfield's a giant, massive, real estate, infrastructure, renewables. But one thing they had was a very large exposure to China already. So now the same guy who helped the integration of the Chinese into the Western world through the swap trading that he promoted and normalized it and pushed it all over the world, ends up in a firm in 2020 where one of the biggest clients that they have is China, not America, China. Financing, real estate, all of it. And that was always his next chapter. Keep China integrated. Keep moving that money. Especially keep legitimizing the RMB. Whatever you do, keep that machine running for China. Then comes 2024. Carney's in Beijing, and he's there as the boss of Brookfield for asset management. Even Beijing's own government readout literally says officially that he is the chair of Brookfield. And what are they talking about? Green finance, dummy. Of course, the mayor of Beijing was encouraging Brookfield at the time to invest a whole lot more into the People's Bank of China through their currency, and that Brookfield needs to be a bigger presence in China. Even Carney in 2024 was talking about expanding the relationship between Brookfield and China in terms of their integration. Stop right there. The same man who helped basically make China's currency go global sound like it was a global good is now sitting across Chinese officials in 2024 as the official chair of Brookfield Asset Management. Same country, same financial road, same green finance language, same direction. 2013, he makes inroads with China by helping them promote their currency. 2024, he shows up on those roads face to face with the CCP to do this business and grow Brookfield. That's enough of a connection to really start asking the hard question. Then 3 weeks later, Brookfield is reported around a major refinancing tied to 2 Shanghai Tower, including an offshore loan of an estimated 2 billion yuan to Brookfield as a loan from the Bank of China, a Chinese state-owned banking giant. I don't care if Carney approved the paperwork or was the guy signing off on this. For me, the issue is the pattern. Why does Mark Carney keep appearing at the most important doors at exactly the right time? That's the issue for me. China gets legitimacy, Brookfield gets opportunity, and we are all told that this is completely normal and organic. And the private capital worldview doesn't disappear once you suddenly and miraculously become the prime minister either. It's going to come with him. The assumptions come with him. The ideologies come with him. Even the bias comes. And all of us have every right to ask why a person like him, all roads point to China ever since 2013. Capital flows, green finance. And now he's prime minister. To be honest, his comfort with China is kind of unsettling. To me, that's the fundamental concern here. A man that was instrumental in China's rise in terms of their financial legitimacy on the world stage spends the next decade basically moving through every institution you could possibly imagine globally so that he could capitalize on that world. And now he runs basically our country.